Okay, greetings one and all, and welcome to this math video. In this math video, we'll be considering the topic solving linear equations. Again, solving linear equations. Let's begin. Okay, this question says x over 4 plus 13 over 20 equals to x over 5. The first thing that we must do is we must find the LCM. So we have to find the lowest common multiple of 4, 20, and 5. So let's list the multiples of 4, 20, and 5. The multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and continuing. The multiples of 20 are 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and continuing. The multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and the list goes on. Now, what is the lowest common multiple of these three numbers? Notice carefully that we have 20 in each, and indeed 20 is definitely the lowest common multiple of 4, 20, and 5. So we're going to take this lowest common multiple, which is 20, the lowest common multiple of the denominators, which is 20. And we're going to take that number, this 20, and we're going to multiply it by every term inside of this equation. So we're going to multiply 20 by x over 4. We're going to multiply 20 by 13 over 20. We're going to multiply 20 by x over 5. That's the first step, right? Multiply 20 by every term inside of the equation. Now, what we can do is we know that 4 goes into itself once, and 4 goes into 20 5 times. We can also cancel these two 20s, and we know that 5 goes in itself once, and 5 goes into 20 4 times. And so we are left with 5 times x, which is 5x, right? We just have 13 here because the 20s were canceled out. And then we are left with 4 times x, which is 4x. Okay, now what we have done is we have removed the denominators, and that's why we multiply by the lowest common multiple to remove the denominators, right? And so now we have a regular linear equation, and what we're going to do is we're going to send the 4x over. So we're going to send the 13 over, and then we're going to send the 4x over. The 13 was positive, it becomes a negative, and the 4x was positive, so it becomes a negative, and we send it over. Now we are left with 5x minus 4x, and that's going to be equal to simply x, and so the answer is x equals to 13. Moving right along, we have this other question. We have 4h minus 7 all over 9 equals to h over 2. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to multiply, we're going to cross multiply actually. So we're going to multiply the 2 by the 4h minus 7, and we're going to multiply 9 by h. And so we cross multiply, again, 9 times h, and then we have to do 2 multiplied by this whole entire entity, or this whole entire quantity. So we're going to distribute 2 times 4h and 2 times 7. 2 times 4h is definitely 8h, and 2 times 7 is definitely 14. Multiply the 9 by the h, we get 9h. Next, we're going to send the negative 14 over the equal sign. And we're going to send the 9h over the equal sign as well. The negative 14 was negative, so when we send it over, it becomes a positive. And 9h is positive, when we send it over, it becomes a negative. So what we have is 8h minus 9h is equal to positive 14. Okay, that's great. So we're going to say 8h minus 9h, that's going to be negative 1h is equal to 14. And we know that we could divide both sides by negative 1. And so that cancel out with that negative 1 cancel with this negative 1. So we're left with h equals to 14 divided by negative 1, and 14 divided by negative 1 is definitely negative 14. So the answer is h is equal to negative 14. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Here we have x over 3 minus 7 over 12 equals to x over 4. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the lowest common multiple of the denominators of 3, 4, and 12. We list the multiples of 4, 3, and 12, and the lowest common multiple is definitely 12. And so that means that the LCM of 3, 4, and 12 is 12. So we're going to use 12 and multiply that by every term, every single term in this equation. And so we have 12 multiplied by x over 3, 12 multiplied by 7 over 12, and 12 multiplied by x over 4. What we're going to do in this case is we're going to simplify. So we say, how many times can 3 go into itself? It goes into itself once. 3 goes into 12 4 times. Now we cancel out the 12s. And we say, how many times can 4 go into itself? 4 goes into itself once. And 4 goes into 12 3 times. And so what do we have? We have 4 times x. 4 times x is 4x. And we're just left with 7, so that's minus 7. And then we have 3x. So 3 times x is 3x. Good. Now what we're going to do, we're going to send the negative 7 over the equal sign. We're going to send the 3x over the equal sign. So we have 4x minus 3x is equal to positive 7. It was a negative 7. When we send it over, it becomes a positive 7. And so we're going to subtract 4x minus 3x is going to be equal to x. And so we have x equals to 7. And that's our answer. Moving right along, we have a next question. It says, Jerry had $100. He went to a computer store, a bookstore, and a music store. He spent 3 times as much money in the computer store as he did in the music store. He spent $12 less at the bookstore than at the music store. He then had $37 left. And the first question says, using X to represent the amount of money spent at the music store, express in terms of X. I, the amount of money spent at the computer store. So how much money was spent at the computer store? It says right here, he spent 3 times as much money in the computer store as he did at the music store. So at the music store, he spent X dollars. And so he spent 3 times more in the computer store than he did in the music store. So that means that the expression here is going to be 3x. Now we want to figure out the amount of money spent at the bookstore. Well, at the bookstore, he spent $12 less at the bookstore than he did at the music store. So it's going to be x minus 12. And it says form an equation in terms of x for the total of money spent. For the total amount of money spent. Okay, well, we know that just add the amount of money he spent. He spent 3x at the computer store. He spent x minus 12 at the bookstore. And at the music store, he spent x dollars. So let's write that down. Again, he spent 3x dollars at the computer store. He spent x minus $12 at the bookstore, and he spent x dollars at the music store. So 3x dollars at the computer store, x minus $12 at the bookstore, and x dollars at the music store. So this is what he spent. But remember, he had $100, and so he spent this amount. So we have to add this all up, and then we're gonna take that away from the 100, right? Because that's what he had. He had $100, and then our result should be 37. Right? So this entire amount, we're gonna subtract that from 100, and we're gonna get 37. Now it says solve the equation formed in B to determine the total amount of money spent at the store. So we're gonna solve this equation. Let's gather the like terms. So we have 3x plus x plus x. So this 3x plus this x, and then obviously the minus 12. Now we have to add 3x plus 1x is going to be 5x, all right, minus 12. And we're going to do something very important. We're going to take this negative 1, and we're going to distribute it across our parentheses. So we're going to say negative 1 times 5x, and we're going to say negative 1 times negative 12. And so we know that negative 1 times 5x is going to be negative 5x. And then negative 1 times negative 12 is going to be positive 12. And so what we're going to do is we're going to send the, well, let's first add. So we got to add the 100 and the 12 because they are like terms. So 100 plus 12, what is 100 plus 12? Well, 100 plus 12 is 112. And so we have that. Then we're going to send over that 112. And so we have 37 minus 112. So what is that? 37 minus 112. We subtract. That's going to be 75. We divide both sides by negative 5. And we cancel. So that means that x is going to be equal to 75. Negative 75 divided by negative 5, which is going to be positive 15. So that means that the amount that he spent at the music store was $15. The amount that he spent at the computer store was 3 times 15. And the amount of money that he spent at the bookstore is going to be 15 minus what it was, minus 12. Yeah, 15 minus 12, which was, that's what we had at the beginning. 15 minus 12, let's check. X minus 12, yes. So at the amount of money spent at the computer store was 3 times 15. The amount of money spent at the bookstore is 15 minus 12. And the amount of money that he spent at the music store is 15. Okay, awesome. So let's move on to the next question. It says here, we have 2 over 3x plus 10 equals to 4 over 5x. We have to find the lowest common multiple of 3 and 5. And so let's list the multiples of 3 and 5. The lowest common multiple is definitely 15. And so we're going to take 15 and we're going to multiply that by each term in the equation. So we're going to say 15 multiplied by 2 over 3x, 15 multiplied by 10, and then 15 multiplied by 4 over 5x. Now we're going to divide. How many times can 3 go in itself? 3 goes in itself 1 time, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. How many times does this is supposed to be, yeah, how many times does 5 go into itself? 5 goes in itself once, and 5 goes into 15 3 times. And so we multiply, this is very important, we multiply 5 by 2x, all right? So we have 5 by 2x, and we have 15 times 10, which is 150, and then 3 times 4x. What is 3 times 4x? And what is 5 times 2x? Well, 5 times 2x is going to be 10x, because 5 times 2 is 10. You have the 150. 3 times 4 is going to be 12, so it's going to be 12x. We send the 150 over, and we send the 12x over. The positive 150 becomes a negative 150, and the positive 12 becomes a negative 12. Now we have 10x minus 12x, which is going to be negative 2x, equals to negative 150. We divide both sides by negative 2, right? Divide both sides by negative 2. We cancel. And so we have x is equal to negative 150 divided by 2. So x is going to be equal to negative 150 divided by 2. And so we know that that's going to be positive 75, because a negative divided by a negative is definitely a positive. Okay, let's move on to the next question. We have 3x over 5 minus 1 over 4 is equal to 3x over 10. The first thing that we must do is we must find the lowest common multiple of 4, 5, and 10. And clearly the lowest common multiple of these three numbers is definitely 20. So we're going to take 20, we're going to multiply it by each term inside of the equation. We're going to multiply 20 by 3x over 5. We're going to multiply 20 by 1 over 4. We're going to multiply 20 by 3x over 10. Next, we're going to divide. How many times can 5 go into itself? 5 goes into itself 1 time, and 5 goes into 20 4 times. How many times does 4 go into itself? 4 goes into itself once. 4 goes into 25 times. How many times does 10 go into itself? 10 goes into itself once, and 10 goes into 20 twice. And so now we have 4 times 3x, right? 5 times 1, and 2 times 3x. So now we are left with 4 times 3x, 5 times 1, and 2 times 3x. We're going to multiply. 4 times 3x is going to be 12x, and 5 times 1 is 5, and 2 times 3x is definitely 6x. And so now we're going to send these things over. So we're going to send the negative 5 over the equal sign. It becomes a positive 5, and we're going to send the 6x over the equal sign. It becomes a negative 6x. So we have 12 minus 6x equals to 5. 12x minus 6x equals to 5. So now we're going to subtract. What is 12 minus 6x? Well, that's definitely 6x, because 12 minus 6 is 6. So we have 6x equals to 5. We divide both sides by 6. All right, so we divide both sides by 6, and then we cancel the 6's. And so we are left with x is equal to 5 over 6. And that's our answer. We leave it as a fraction. Okay, let's move on to the next question. We have x over 2 minus x over 6 equals to 3 over 4. The first thing that we want to do is we want to find the lowest common multiple of 2, 4, and 6. And definitely the lowest common multiple of 2, 4, and 6 is definitely 12. So we're going to take 12 and we're going to multiply it by each term in the equation. We're going to multiply 12 by x over 2, 12 by x over 6, and 12 by 3 over 4. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to divide. How many times can 2 goes in itself? Well, 2 goes in itself 1 time, and 2 goes into 12 6 times. How many times does 6 go in itself? 6 goes in itself once, and 6 goes into 12 twice. How many times does 4 goes in itself? 4 goes in itself 1 time, and 4 goes into 12 3 times. And so we have 6 times x, which is 6x, 2 times x, which is 2x, and 3 times 3, which is definitely 9. And so we have 6x minus 4x, which is 4x. Sorry, 6x minus 2x, which is 4x, and 3 times 3, which is 9. Next, we divide both sides by 4x. We divide both sides by 4, and we cancel. And so we have x is equal to 9 over 4. Dividing 9 by 4, we get 2.25. And so the answer is x is equal to 2.25. Okay, let's move on to the next question. We have x over 2 plus 5 over x. Sorry, x over 2 plus 5 over 6 equals to x over 3. And so we have to find the lowest common multiple of 2, 6, and 3. Indeed, the lowest common multiple is definitely 6. And so we're going to take 6 and we're going to multiply it by each term in the equation. 6 times x over 2, 6 times 5 over 6, and 6 times x over 3. Next, we're going to cancel or divide. How many times does 2 goes in itself? It goes in itself once. How many times does 2 goes into 6? 3 times. We cancel the 6's. How many times does 3 go into itself once? How many times does 3 goes into 6? Twice. So 3 times x, we have 3 times x, and then we have the 5 here. And then 2 times x, we have that here. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to send the 5 over the equal sign. We're going to send the 2x over the equal sign. So what do we have? We have 3x minus 2x is equal to, when we send the 5 over, it's going to be negative 5. And so we have 3x minus 2x, which is going to be x. And so our answer is x is equal to negative 5, because 3 minus 2 is definitely 1x, which is, sorry, 3 minus 2 is 1, and 3x minus 2x is 1x, which is the same thing as x. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This is 2011. We have n over 10 is equal to 9 minus n over 5. Here we're going to find the lowest common multiple of 5 and 10. And the lowest common multiple of 5 and 10 is definitely 10. And so we are going to multiply 10 by each term in the equation. Yeah. And so what we're going to do is we're going to divide. So how many times does, well, 10 goes itself once, so we basically just cancel these two. 10 times 9 is 90, and then how many times does 5 goes in itself? Goes in itself one time, and it goes into 10 twice. So we are left with n is equal to 10 times 9, which is 90, and then 2 times n, which is 2n. All right, now we're gonna send the negative 2n over the equal sign, and so n, we send the negative 2n over, it becomes a positive 2n. So now we have n plus 2n equals to 90, and n plus 2n is going to be 3n. So we have 3n equals to 90. We divide both sides by 3, and we cancel the 3's. And so we are left with n is equal to 90 over 3. And so that means that n is equal to 30. Moving right along, we have this question. This is from, the question says 2b minus 5 divided by 7 is equal to b over 3. What we're going to do here is we're going to multiply the 7. We're going to cross multiply. So we're going to multiply the 7 times the b and the 3 times 2b minus 5. And so what we're going to do is we're going to distribute 3 times 2b and 3 times 5. And so we have 3 times 2b and 3 times negative 5. 3 times 2b is definitely going to be 6b. And 3 times 5 is going to be 15. And we have the 7b here because 7 times b. We're going to send over the negative 15, which becomes a positive 15. We're going to send over the positive 7b, which becomes a negative 7b. And so now we have 6b minus 7b equals to 15, positive 15. Now we subtract 6b minus 7b is going to be negative 1b equals to 15, and we divide both sides by negative 1. And so we cancel these two, so b is going to be equal to 15 divided by negative 1, and 15 divided by negative 1 is definitely going to be negative 15. So b is going to be equal to negative 15. That's our answer. Okay, let's move on to the next question. We have 2000, it's from 2000, the year 2000. When 5 is added to a number y, let's call that number y, and then doubled, the result is 36. Write an algebraic equation in terms of y. So we have 5 added to a number y. So we have to add 5 and y. So 5 plus y, and then we're going to double it, right? We're going to double it. So 5 plus y, and then we're going to double it, right? So 2 multiplied by the quantity. Make sure I put it in brackets. Now we have the equation. Now we're going to solve the equation. And so what we have to do, we have to distribute the 2 times 5, and then 2 times y. 2 times 5 is definitely 10, and 2 times y is definitely 2y equals to 36. We're going to send the 10 over the equal sign, so we have 36 minus 10, and 36 minus 10 is definitely 26. We divide both sides of the equation by 2, and we cancel, so we have y is equal to 26 divided by 2. 26 divided by 2 is definitely 13, so the answer is y is equal to 13. Okay, let's move on to this next question. We have 2 times 3a minus 4 is equal to 13. But what we're going to do here is we're going to multiply 2 by 3a, and 2 times 3a is definitely 6a, and then we're going to multiply 2 times 4. 2 times 4 is definitely 8, and that's going to be equals to 13. So we have 6a minus 8 equals to 13. We send the negative 8 over, so we have 6a equals to 13 plus 8. 13 plus 8, and so when we send this negative 8 over, it becomes a positive 8. So 6a equals to 13 plus 8. 13 plus 8 is equal to 21. And so we divide both sides by 6. And so we have these 6's are going to cancel each other. So a is going to be equal to 21 divided by 6. And 21 divided by 6 is definitely 3.5. So a is equal to 3.5. Okay, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video.